How can you not be happy looking at this? This is a tin of happiness. Hey everyone, it's Amanda. Welcome back to my channel. So today I kind of just felt like sitting down, playing around with some lettering, practicing my calligraphy because I haven't done that in a while. This video is sponsored by Crayola, who I'm so happy to be working with. Those of you who have watched any of my videos know that I've been a long-time user and fan of Crayola's products. I mean, obviously as a child I used Crayola art supplies growing up, but even now as a fully grown adult I use Crayola art supplies in my art, bullet journaling, calligraphy, everything. I love them, and I'm extra excited because today we are playing around with their new Crayola signature collection, which includes a bunch of new brush pens and gel pens and a bunch of things that are focused on calligraphy and lettering, which obviously is what we're here for. Whether you're a beginner or more advanced with lettering, I feel like you will still enjoy this collection. So I'm going to be showing you guys different exercises for different levels, and we're just going to play with the whole collection. It should be a fun time, so let's just get right into it. Alright, so as I mentioned, all of the supplies that I'm using today are from the new Crayola Signature Collection. This box set in particular is the Crayoligraphy Activity Set. It comes with a bunch of dual-tipped markers. I think these are new, but they're actually very similar to the classic Crayola Super Tips, which I've been using for years, but the difference is that it has a thinner end on the other side. It also comes with a couple of brush pens, which are so good. These are also actually dual tipped. And then there are also a couple of glitter gel pens in there as well. The last thing that the set comes with is this lettering workbook that has a bunch of different tutorials and worksheets and fun decorative sheets that you can do some lettering on. If you are a brush pen person, then this tin set is for you. These are the same dual tipped brush pens that I showed you earlier, except it comes in a set of 16. So you have 32 colors total because each end is a different color. I also have this tin set for the gel pens where the top half are all of the glitter colors and the bottom half is all the metallic colors, which is going to be so fun to play around with, especially on this. This is the Creative Lettering Inspiration Pad. Okay, so starting off at the beginner level, we are going to go into our Crayoligraphy Activity Set lettering exercises. It comes with all these different exercise sheets that are great for beginners. This specific one shows you how to do faux calligraphy. So I'm using the glitter gel pens to practice the words that they gave me on the guidelines. And in order to do faux calligraphy, I'm writing out the cursive a bit larger and more spaced out than I normally would, and then on each of the downstrokes, I'm making the line thicker. If you don't know what downstrokes are, like the name suggests, it's essentially when the pen goes down towards you. Similarly, upstrokes are when the pen goes away from you. So typically you want the downstrokes to be thicker than the upstrokes. So with faux calligraphy, we're trying to mimic the look of the various pen pressure that brush lettering typically has. So you just have to take the extra step and add in that thickness on your lettering. Just as a tip, I always try to retrace the letters in my mind once I have the base cursive down so that I know where the downstrokes are. Then you can either color in the blank spaces or leave it how it is. Either way, it looks great and you're left with some cool lettering that was super easy to achieve with pretty basic supplies. I'm not going to be showing you every single exercise sheet, but the next ones are meant for brush pens, and these are great because as you can see, they have a faded version of the brush pen so you can trace it over and it'll help you get the gist of how much pressure to use on the downstrokes, which tends to be the difficult part. And I actually really love these brush pens. They are the perfect amount of flexibility and thickness. You can get a thin upstroke and a thick downstroke fairly easily. The colors are vibrant but not too inky and opaque, so there wasn't a lot of bleed, and I feel like you would be able to blend these easily as well. I'm just showing you guys more of the worksheets. These ones have the actual words. Again, you can trace the pre-made word for that they gave you, and then you can do it yourself on the one next to it. So yeah, these exercise sheets would be so great for someone who is just getting started. I also feel like this would be such a great gift idea for someone who is interested in lettering but doesn't know where to start, because I know it can be quite overwhelming. Actually, here's a good shot where you can see that I'm using the non-brush pen pens, just the regular markers, to do Crayoligraphy as well. All you have to do is make sure you angle the pen depending on how thick you want your stroke to be. Since the marker is pointed, if you want a thinner stroke, all you have to do is angle the marker at more of a perpendicular angle so that only the tip is touching the paper. And if you want a thicker stroke, you have to angle it more downwards so that you're kind of using the whole side of the marker to get that thick stroke. It takes a little bit of getting used to, but once you get the hang of rotating and angling your marker, you should be able to create some beautiful lettering with these regular markers as well, and it looks pretty similar to the brush lettering. I'm also using the thinner end of the dual tip marker and practicing faux calligraphy again, but just wanted to show you guys that there's so many different options with these markers, especially because the dual tips come in different colors, so you truly have the world of calligraphy waiting for you. As I mentioned, the Crayoligraphy activity set has a lot of these worksheets and tutorial pages, but now we are moving on to the more intermediate section, and for this I'm going to be using the lettering inspiration pad with the black paper. I was so excited for this because I've always loved writing on black paper, especially with gel pens, and these Crayola detailing gel pens come in a wide variety of colors, and they're so opaque and show up on the black paper beautifully. As you can see, this silver really pops against the black, and I feel like writing on black paper just gives your lettering a little bit something extra, and it makes it look so professional and beautiful. As you can see, I'm writing out the words to my quote, and the quote I chose is "It's a beautiful day," and this quote is actually the one that was given to me in the inspiration pad. There's a lot of little prompts like this throughout the pad to help you get over any art block or just make you feel inspired to sit down and have fun with lettering. And I'm using all of the techniques that I mentioned before in the faux calligraphy section. So I'm using my glitter gel pen, writing out the cursive, and then going thicker on the downstrokes. But this time I'm actually mixing it in with some different fonts, and I'm also having fun adding some flourishes in there, so adding some swirly lines around it and little emphasis marks that make it look like a fully formed quote illustration, and I feel like it all came together really nicely. Here I'm practicing the same thing. I'm doing a full quote, but just with the brush pens this time, so I'm playing around with both the finer tipped end and the actual brush tipped end, of course, and coming up with a full illustration. So this one says "Speak Your Mind," and I used the brush pens in different colors and different ways. As you can see, the top one is a bit more free-flowing and the middle font is all caps, but it's the same method of going thicker on the downstrokes and lighter on the upstrokes. Another thing that the inspiration pad comes with are all of these cute little decorative cards that kind of have pre-made illustrations on them, so this is another great thing that will really spark your inspiration, and maybe it'll actually come in useful and you can use them as different birthday tags or gifts. Finally, we are bringing everything together and doing an advanced illustration. As this little Crayoligraphy diagram suggests, there are a lot of different things you can add to your lettering, whether that be drop shadows and flourishes or doodles, and I wanted to do that on one of these sheets that had this really beautiful floral and leaf border around it. Obviously, you could draw these leaves by yourself, but I thought that these ones looked so good and there's no way I would be able to do this all by myself. So Crayola did it for me, and I'm just going to color them in a very similar color palette, and I feel like it's going to turn out really good. So this quote says, "The bravest thing you can be is yourself," and I used different fonts, I used the different ends of the brush tips, and I'm adding drop shadows and little swirly lines all around it, just to have fun and see what I could come up with, because this one, I didn't really go into it with a plan, but I feel like that's the best way to go into these types of things sometimes. But anyways, I'm also adding little dots and floral patterns to kind of blend in the printed pattern that the paper came with into my actual lettering illustration. And then I'm using the detailing gel pens on top of the brush pens. So again, mixing all of the mediums and all of the materials from the Crayoligraphy set. And then of course the final thing we had to do was color in the leaf border illustration. This was really fun for me and very therapeutic. It was like those adult coloring books. I chose the color palette based on the lettering quote that I did. I also wanted to add a couple pops of different colors and make it very cohesive. So I'm mixing in the purples with the greens and the blues all together, and yeah, using the brush pens as well to fill in larger areas. And then I felt like the colors were looking a little too flat, so later on I went in with my detailing gel pen, the gold glitter one, which is my favorite one because who doesn't love gold and who doesn't love glitter? And I went on top of the colors and added some accents. It's kind of hard to see from this angle because of the lighting, but the glitter really shows up in person and I feel like it is so cute. I just love the way that this whole thing turned out and I feel like I'm thoroughly inspired. Alright everyone, so I hope you enjoyed lettering with me and playing around with the brand new Crayola signature collection. I had a ton of fun. I feel like I should do this more often where I'm just experimenting and there's no rules. It was great. Thank you again to Crayola for sponsoring this video. You guys should go check out their socials for a bunch more inspiration on lettering and different crafts. And you can also learn more about the Crayola signature collection in the description box below. But other than that, thanks for hanging out with me, keep doodling, and I will talk to you in my next video. Bye everyone!